Good evening and welcome to a Tuesday, the Center State Bank Tuesday, to be specific, on the Buddy Martin Show and podcast.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking, but be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. Welcome to Center State Bank Tuesday. Buddy Martin with you on another fine evening. And we're down to Cupcake Saturday. How do you like them cupcakes? Idaho at Florida. And, of course, I got the whole schedule of cupcakes in today on the program on XM Sirius SEC Today. I made a comment in reference to Martha Stewart University, and Chris Childers, the co-host with Aaron Murray, immediately said, I love that. I'm going to steal it. We got a couple of bites for you tonight. One of them from Chris Childers, talking about Felipe Franks, what he thought about the booing. And this is a story that won't go away, although it's not that big here anymore. It's just getting around to the other folks. It's a busy night. We got people far-flung. We've been scheduling and rescheduling all week as people are trying to get their Thanksgiving Day or pre-Thanksgiving week in order. Have you experienced some of that? Everybody wants to clear the decks this week so next week they can enjoy the holiday, and that's fine. I think Thanksgiving is maybe my favorite holiday because you don't have to buy gifts, you get to eat good, you get to sleep and eat and watch football. So it can't be bad, right? So tonight we had to move Chris Doring. Chris Doring is in Huntsville, Alabama as we speak. And Chris is speaking to the Gator Club there, Huntsville. I've spoken to those people a couple of times. They're very nice people in a good club. And I just texted Chris to see about his scheduled programming. I said, will we be better tomorrow night? And he said, yes, I'm not even on yet. So he's got a ways to go, the quarterback club meeting in Huntsville. We will hear from Chris tomorrow night. Tate Casey is tentatively scheduled to be on tomorrow night if we can work out those things. We had to move things around. Edgar Thompson has a basketball game, and usually eccentric Edgar, we say that about him lovingly. We love Edgar. Is on usually on Wednesday nights, but he can't be because of basketball. Maybe he'll be on Thursday. It's just sort of like dominoes when one falls. It's okay. I'm very fortunate to have these guests, and they're really great about coming on, and we enjoy them. And so consequently, I don't complain about it. I'll say good evening to Dutch. Hello, David. Nice to talk to you. Tracy, I know you made a comment about Felipe. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but we'll talk about that later. Charles, hello to you. Maris Stella Mayer. Is that from Roger Maris? I don't know. DJ, Andy, Kyle, Donald, Lynn, Joe, Kevin, Danny, Quentin, Roger over in Ningbo, China, Kyle, Joe, David, and Roger. I think I saw Bubba on there someplace. I'm not sure. Already on tonight, and thank you for joining the program. We're going to do some graphics tonight and talk about some things. Did you see the College Football Committee's rankings tonight? And did you see the New Year's 6 projection? Just wonder if you saw what I did. We'll get to that in a minute and talk about it. That's very interesting because we're starting to think bowls now because, let's be honest about it, that's where Florida's season is going, and which one they will go to is going to make a big difference for a lot of us, at least of which is the traveling. The other part is the team they play, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll be looking into that as we go. And then we'll talk about the events of the day, the events of the weekend, and Cupcake Saturday. It was asked to me today by Chris Trowler, don't you think we should just do away with this completely? Should they ban these games, not play them? And, I don't think we'll be able to play that whole interview today I had, but certainly the point being, hey, it's football, right? We all care about football, and we watch spring games. Why wouldn't we watch Cupcake Saturday? And the lineup is pretty pathetic. I mean, look, let's be honest about it. Here's how the teams play this weekend. What I call the Martha Stewart University weekend. Cupcake Saturday. The Citadel, Idaho, Middle Tennessee, Liberty, Chattanooga, UMass, and Rice. Those are the outside conference games. And that's pretty pathetic. Now, the question is, should these teams have to pay a price for this? I get it. That's the way it is right now. That's the system. That's how you work it. There's a formula to play so many games. If you're in the SEC, you play 8 conference games. So you look for a cupcake right before your last game of the year to have your senior day or whatever you might have, and to get your team healed up for the stretch run if you're in the hunt. So teams do this, and this is why you have Cupcake Saturday. Should it be changed? Yes. And as I said today on the SEC Today Exit Search program, a way to fix it, and you'll hear me talk about this with Mike Bianchi in an upcoming interview, is play an 8-game playoff. I've kind of come full circle on that, and I sometimes debate it. And I know people like David Moulton, who should be on tonight, hopefully around 9:30 or 9:40. David will get his thoughts. He likes it at 4 because he says he wants that squeezing at the end. He wants someone to be left out, like the old game of musical chairs, remember? Where you go around, and the music stops and you're going to sit down and they keep taking a chair away. He likes that kind of game. We probably like musical chairs too. And that's fine. I understand that. And somebody else said last week, who was on this show, is it better to have a team that's left out, or is it better to have was it worse to have a team left out, or is it worse to have a bad team get in? And I get that. But I think you could make a case, and I'm sorry about it if you don't like UCF. I don't think they belong in the current format. There's nothing wrong with an 18 format taking over, which is not going to do in the next couple of months. Tony Barnhart was one who said that, by the way, last week. But if you had 8 teams, you'd find out about UCF, and you'd find out about some of these other teams. These teams that are outside the top 4. Hey, the College Football Committee, as evidenced again by tonight, they don't always get it right, all right? We're going to take a look at those graphics in just a minute and tell you what we see there, and talk about the New Year's Six lineup, which is a little bit, well, if you're a Florida fan, you're not happy about it, all right? There's a team or two that's going to fall by the wayside. I understand that, but the top 6 were Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, Georgia, Oklahoma, 6, and I don't disagree with those. We'll see about Ohio State. They dropped down after their punt fest last weekend. If they beat Michigan, they're going to have a shot to get in. And then UCF's 11th still, and Florida's all the way up to 13th. So whereas the polls have Florida 15th mostly, they have them 13th in the college football. So what does it take? They only have to get into one spot, right, to be in 6? I think that's right. But on the other hand, the math doesn't work out. When I look at the graphic, I'll show you that in just a minute. See what I see. Maybe you can help me figure that out. We'll talk a little Heisman tonight. Mike Bianchi is the chairman for the state of Florida. He picks the people who vote. And thankfully, he continues to pick me every year, which I appreciate. I've been voting in it since before Mike was in sports writing. But as I said today on the SEC Today, I've been watching Florida football since Marconi invented the radio. That's just how it goes. All right. Coaching carousel has begun. Yeah, it's begun. All of a sudden, there's who's going to go to Louisville. What a mess they got up there all the way around, basketball and football. Jeff Brom at Purdue are saying now he may not want to leave Purdue. If he doesn't, there's a betting line. Bovada has an official line. They think Neil Brown, the guy that Franz mentioned last night, will be a good candidate for that. Ryan Day from Ohio State is the second favorite. Brent Venables, defensive coordinator, is next. Luke Fickell gets higher than Matt Campbell at 12. See, Matt Campbell would be high on my list from Iowa State. He's done a really good job in that program. I think he's a guy who's a rising star. Dino Babers has had a good year at Syracuse. I do not know Scott Sitterfield and Jason Kendall. Maybe you do. I don't. So we'll have to wait and see about that. All right, so now Siri wants to talk to me today for some reason on my phone. I don't want to talk to you today, so be quiet. Stop doing that. Hold on a second while I do this. Did that ever happen to you that Siri just decides to go on one day and there you go? You're off and running and that your phone goes on and music plays. And this, by the way, is a brand new phone. Cost me an arm and a leg, I must say. Wow. These things are expensive, but I had no choice. My other one completely died. So you have to have a phone. So I went back to the old iPhone. I know some of you don't like it, but that's what I did. Okay. All that's what I wanted to say to start with. And by the way, guess what's coming up in about 6 days? It's a certain anniversary about a certain airport. Yeah. And if you remember it out there, the story shall live on, hopefully. And some of you mentioned it last week, and we'll talk about it some more. So let's get around the business of talking, getting some of your questions about how did you feel about the booing. Charles has a comment about it. He has thoughts. Good evening to all you other folks. This is one of my friends from out in Denver, and that's where Brendan Martin is. Glad to know, DJ, you're watching and listening to the show all the way out in Denver. Well, if you forget to check, you don't have to check, because if you sign up and turn on notifications, you get notified. In fact, I got a couple of people on who sometimes, and David's one of them, who says, "Hey, buddy, I didn't get a notice tonight. That's because I hadn't put it out yet." But I love that. You know, notifications, if you want to know about the show, to see if you like the menu, you can sign on and get that, and tell your friends. They can sign up for it, and they'll just know when we go live. And sometimes, like on Sunday morning when we came up unexpectedly, you didn't see us coming, right? There was no notification, but we just popped up, and it still goes on. We're live. So, I want to say hello to Andy Pham out there on the Mississippi Gulf Coast doing some good work for us. And let's see what else we got here from you folks. Lynn Tyndall, birthday boy. What's up, Lynn? How you doing, man? There you go. He's talking about Cupcake Saturday. He thinks he'll call it instant mashed taters. It is mashed, that's for sure, Lynn. That is for sure. How do you feel about it? Maybe you like it. I don't know. Maybe you like. I like football. I'll be honest with you, and I said this on XM Sirius, that the game I'm really interested in is that Notre Dame game versus Syracuse at Yankee Stadium. And John Fenneran was on with us earlier last week. He covers Notre Dame for the AP, and he talked about those pinstripe pants and those dark blue helmets and what have you. Yeah, you're right, Joe Reams. It is the Rocket City Gator Club, and they are the ones that are hosting tonight, hosting our friend Chris Doring, who will not be with us tonight. Good evening to Jason up in Jacksonville. We've got them all over. You know, it's funny how we rank. Number one city. See if you can guess the top cities that we have. And we're in all of by the way, we're global. We have listeners all over the globe, and they give you a breakdown sometimes. And for some reason, we're really big up in Brantford, Canada, near a suburb of Ontario. I don't know. We get quite a few people up there. Somebody's listened to the show and the podcast especially. We do this podcast almost every night. Some nights we don't do it. But you'll be interested to know that the number one audience is Gainesville, followed by Ocala. And a very close third is Jacksonville. Then after that is Orlando, and then Tampa, St. Pete, and then we have them around the state, a lot of different places. I know we got them in Newberry, where the mayor of Newberry is. We got them in Palatka, what have you. I'm going to give it to you, Dave, in just a minute. I'll give you the projection on screen. I made a picture of it on screen. I'm probably not supposed to do that, but I did do that. So Mark Page said you're going to play at ninth SEC game, but you know what, Mark, you're not going to get much support from the coaches on that. They don't want to play another one. So yeah, then I got those numbers. So they're he's got the math figured out. Of course, Lynn's always ahead of the curve right there. So let's just continue to have a lot of interest in that. We have a little time tonight. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at those and talk about it and get your takes on it. So let me go get that, and I'll give you a look-see when I get rid of my stuff on the screen. Let's start with this. All right, there's the rankings. There's how they turned out tonight. All right. I don't know what you make out of that. I see some, a little bit of movement, obviously, here and there. I keep forgetting that LSU is that high. I don't know why. That seems high. I do have the right week, don't I? Isn't that the right week? I believe it is. What does it say? College football. Well, I hope that's the right week. Is that it? Yeah, 13th. There it is right there. LSU is that high. And I got more to talk about on LSU. So there's how they project them tonight. And, Notre Dame, some would argue that they shouldn't be that high, but after all, they beat Michigan. Georgia 5, and with a chance to obviously go up if they get to when they play Alabama, if they should beat Alabama, which isn't likely, but hey, it's football. Oklahoma's the team that's a little scary. This team has got an unbelievable Kyler Murray. I mean, that offense is crazy. I wouldn't want to be playing Oklahoma unless I was needing some offensive stats in the matchup. And the thing about it is, you wonder if they're ever going to play against a running team that can take ball control against it. Apparently not. They score in the 40s and 50s every time out. LSU might be a little overranked there. And I'm going to break down their schedule in just a minute and see what you think. Get your takes. And I know you're all making projections. David talking about Fiesta, UCF. I talked to Mike about that. So let's just see how it breaks down. But then Washington State, I love that Washington State team. I tell you what, you can't beat the coach. He's a funny guy, and he's a heck of a good. Mike is a really good offensive coach. Bubba Spurrier works on that staff for him. West Virginia may not make it through, but we'll see. Ohio State 10, then UCF, Syracuse, and then Florida at 13. Syracuse should be beaten by Notre Dame, but if not, they will go up, and Notre Dame will come down. Syracuse is just ahead of Florida. So what has to happen is some of those teams have got to lose, all right, for Florida to make it there. And so looking at the schedule, I don't do a lot of analysis like this, but I thought it'd be worth looking at tonight. And so here's what we have. I just had that. I don't want that. I don't want to get this. Here's what I got off the screen, okay? All right, there it is. There's the New Year's 6 projections right there. There they are. Now, there's all the bowls. This is what they put on the screen. Games December 29th and January 1st, it says here, starting with the Peach Bowl. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about, the New Year's 6, isn't it? I guess that's what it is. And there you have Syracuse and West Virginia. Well, there's nothing to say that they'll be there, but that's where they got them right there. All right, so now that we got the games of the playoff games, and you've got the Capital One, and the Orange Bowl game, Notre Dame and Wade stands now would play Clemson, and then you've got the Cotton Bowl where Michigan would play Alabama under that projection. That's one. Then you get the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. That's interesting. UCF and LSU. Then you get the Rose Bowl with Ohio State. That's automatic because of the conference tie-in. Washington State, and then All-State Sugar Bowl. At this point would be Georgia if Georgia wasn't in the championship against Oklahoma. Okay, let's go back. Where Florida would fit in would be right here in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. If one or both those teams get knocked out, because Florida should win the next 2 games. The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl is interesting because let's look at this. LSU, okay, I believe Florida beat LSU, didn't they? Yeah, they did. So you think, all right, what's the deal with that? And you start thinking about, what has to happen. Well, I thought, well, LSU could drop out of there. And UCF, does UCF deserve it over Florida? Well, who's to say Florida wouldn't jump them if UCF has a bad game or whatever? I mean, it could happen. I doubt it because UCF is undefeated. But teams above UCF also will be dropping out because they play each other. So there's going to be squeezing, and there's no reason why Florida can't be in a top 12, maybe top 10 position if other things happen. Let's take a look now at that schedule, if I can find it. I was talking about with LSU. Can you read this? I don't know if you can. You kind of forget what LSU has done, and sometimes they forget Florida beat LSU. But LSU also beat Georgia. Let's not forget that. So LSU, there it is right there on the screen. They lost to Florida, 27-19. Lost to Alabama badly. 29-0, could have been 59-0. They beat Georgia 36-16. And they just last week, and they barely beat Arkansas 24-17, but apparently they get penalized for that because they're right there at 7 still. And they could lose to Texas A&M. So hang on, folks. It's not over yet. Here's the LSU schedule. That's what that's about. So we'll see how it plays out. So I'm not big on projecting. I don't particularly like to project, but that's how it looks at this point in time if you want to play that game. That's like projecting on the Heisman Trophy, and I got some thoughts about that later on too, and we'll talk about that. So so you all have some thoughts about that. Jags weighing in. Of course they go to travel to Arizona if they could get in a bowl. Are you kidding me? They could play in the Fiesta Bowl in a heartbeat they would. And Lynn says, need Michigan and Notre Dame to win big. Syracuse and Oklahoma or Ohio State will drop under UF. Okay, good point there. You're right, Kyle. Mike Leach is awesome. He's funny. Did you see the thing with Leach and a mustache? That was funny. He's a funny dude. I saw his press conference today. He was talking about who could whip the other guy in his conference and who could beat who. And it was funny. He's funny. He's also a really good coach, by the way. Let's see. Nat has some nasty things to say about the Big 12. Quentin, we've been talking about this. The way this thing's going right now, we got 3 undefeated teams in the top 4. It's going to be hard for a 2-loss team, depending on what it is. Of course, obviously, if certain teams lost, a 2-loss team could get in, like Georgia, but it's going to be hard, in my opinion. All right, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, David, I know we've heard a lot of things. We've heard about Fiesta. We've heard about this. It's just scuttlebutt. This doesn't really make a whole lot of difference what we hear. We'll say good evening to Vincent in Fort Hood, Texas, one of our veterans, no doubt, out there. Vincent, good evening to you. Thank you for all your service. Mike Rao is on the case in Jacksonville recruiting for us. Mike's good to hear that you're doing well after your recent medical situation. And good evening to Clint and the whole team. All right, it's time for me to take a little break here, do a little business, come back and chat with Mike Bianchi about my question, would we all boo Mike Bianchi? If we did, what would he do? Would he shush us? Well, you never know. You never know.
Job-related accidents create incredible stress on your finances, your relationships, and most importantly, your sense of well-being. When the adjuster is not approving benefits you're entitled to by law, you need Dan Hightower to help you understand all of your legal options. Daniel L. Hightower has been fighting for accident victim justice in Ocala and statewide since 1976. Call Daniel L. Hightower today to better understand all your legal options. 352-629-7777.
Fighting for accident victim justice since 1976. I want to tell you about Center State Bank. It's Center State Bank Tuesday. Thank you to all the good folks over there. This is my bank where I go. Beautiful building over on Silver Springs Boulevard in Ocala. There are many, many others at 82 locations in 30 Florida counties. They believe in core values like world-class service, relationship banking, faith in family, long-term horizon in their debts, etc., And you should know their slogan is right there on the screen, centered on community and customer service. And they don't just say it, they do it. That beautiful building, which I love so much, they have an art gallery on the second floor, and quite a few community activities take place there. As I've said many times, we had our Megan Mullen night there with our quarterback club, and it was a lovely place to do it. And a lot of folks go to that balcony and watch the Christmas parade, and they share their building. It's not like any other bank. So if you want to know about those kind of things and that appeals to you, go to centerstatebank.com. Look up a location for you. There's plenty around the Ocala-Gainesville area, and also obviously Jacksonville and Orlando, Tampa, where we also get into. And you can call my bank here in Ocala at on Silver Springs Boulevard, that building, at 352-368-6800, and talk to them about their slogan, Center State Bank, centered on community and customer service. And one more before we go to break, my friends at Grinders. It's not just my favorite clothing store, it's one of my favorite places to go. I've been going there a lot of years since they first started. And it's a place to go to buy clothes and also to find out what's going on in the rest of the world. They're very centered around the community here. They do a terrific job with serving you for your men's clothing needs. They've done it for generation after generation. Doesn't matter whether it's for you, if you're a millennial, or if you for your grandfather. They have the kind of clothes that are tasteful for all ages. They have top brands. They have some wonderful new shirts in there, which I want to go out and see and talk to David about. And also looking good in a Grinders suit. If your holidays coming up, you need a sport coat, this is where you need to go. Get tried on, get your fitting there, and David will take good care of you. Reasonably priced, great service, and a place you want to be a part of. Check it out, downtown Ocala, 405 East Silver Springs Boulevard. Phone 352-629-3195. Grinders for Men. It's been a tradition in Ocala since 1962. Okay, earlier today we did talk with the mouthy one about a lot of things, including his view of Felipe Franks and what happened Saturday in the swamp.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy.
I want it now, okay? Apologize. Let's try this. Here we go. All right, out to our Red Star split screen and talk to the guy who is the Felipe Franks of Orlando. He gets booed, and he puts his finger to his mouth and says, shush, shush, shush. Mike Bianchi. How are you, Mikey?
I'm doing good, buddy. How about you?
Good, good. What do you think of that, Abby? After all, quarterback gets booed, he comes back at them and gives them a little shush. How do you like that?
I loved it. The fact that, the guy's been getting booed since he was a freshman last year quarterbacking. It's not his fault. He was coached by Jim McElwain and Doug Nussmeier last year, for crying out loud. So, yeah, I love the fact that he's giving it back to the Boo Birds a little bit.
You know, I said yesterday, and I think you'd agree, the Gator fans been wanting passion out of their players and passion out of their fans. They got both.
Absolutely. And again, Felipe Franks, I feel bad for the kid sometimes. Again, it's not his fault that he was coached badly last year. It's not his fault that he doesn't quite fit in the Dan Mullen style of offense. But you know what? He's the best quarterback the Gators have. If he wasn't, he wouldn't have started all this year. Dan Mullen's no dummy. He's got the guy on the field for a reason. And if you would have asked Gator fans before the season, hey, you were 4-7 last year, Felipe Franks has a chance to lead you to 9 or 10 victories this year, will you take it? You know what Gator fans would have said? Hell
absolutely,
yes.
Yeah, we're in. And by the way, 7 wins. And this might be a thing of his fate, you know? And they just can't get him out of there. They're going to have to drive a stake through his heart to get him out of there, which I love, because last year, Mike, before the season, when Zaire was coming from Notre Dame, in the preseason, I interviewed Franks, and he pretty much said, hey, I ain't laying down giving him my job. You know, I'm going to fight for this. I'm not going to give in to this guy. And he went out, and he didn't play great, but he fought. And that's what they saw Saturday, Mike, not to get over-dramatized, but he found some heart, he fought, and he produced a result. Maybe he needs to play angry all the time, huh?
Absolutely. Either that or he needs to play Will Muschamp in the swamp all the time, because
Yeah,
Will Muschamp losing in the swamp, that doesn't happen very often. Oh, that's right, it happens all the time.
It confirms the theory, the conspiracy theory, the only reason that Florida lost 3 times to Georgia is because they sent Muschamp down here. It was a bulldog, you know. Oh, all right. So, Mike, when I called you, you said, what are you doing? I said, making my reservations to go to Arizona for the UCF Florida game. That would be kind of bizarre, wouldn't it?
That would be awesome. It would be awesome. Obviously, I mean, UCF, you know, they're still hoping that there's an outside chance that they could get into the playoff, but that's not going to happen. We all know that. The committee's not going to give UCF a chance to play for the national championship. But just like last year, they have a chance to go to a big-time bowl game at the end of the year and play, hopefully an SEC team. They beat Auburn last year. I would love to see a Florida-UCF matchup in the Fiesta Bowl or the Peach Bowl. I think that would be awesome. It would be great for football fans in the state of Florida, and it would be, another chance for UCF to make a statement, and it would be a chance for the Gators to make a statement as well because, I know Florida State, and Miami fans don't want to hear it, but right now UCF is clearly the king of college football in the state of Florida. You see that this weekend when game day will be in town for the UCF Cincinnati game.
Well, how about that? You got Mike Bianchi, finally got his witch. In Orlando, it's all about making dreams come true and having these unreasonable expectations, a la Walt Disney. So Mike Bianchi, being the Walt Disney of college football, was able to manipulate it so that game day would come down to see this mythical national champion. Good job.
I don't know if I manipulated. I think UCF with 22 straight victories has manipulated it. But you know what Walt Disney once said, buddy? If you can dream it, you can do it. And guess what? I've dreamed it, and it's getting done this Saturday.
Reaching back for a little Walt quote. That's pretty good stuff right there. That's what I expect from the chairman of the Heisman Committee. A lot of people don't know that about you. You're the most powerful man in the state in the Heisman votes. I mean, you pick the voters, of which for some reason you picked me all these years, but and honored to be chosen. So let's talk Heisman. I don't like to talk Heisman until about now. Now it's getting kind of interesting, Mike, because it was a gimme. It was a laydown for Tua Tagovailoa. Can you say that name, by the way?
Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay, something like that. And he's the guy they said might be the greatest of all time. It's slam dunk, close the ballots, mail them in, forget about it. And as your friend Lee Corso likes to say, not so fast, my friend. There are things now happening since the injury to Tua last week. He looks like he's human, and now has it opened the door? And I know, Mike, you say this not as a chairman of the Heisman, but as a guy who's a voter like I am, as to now all of a sudden there's something to talk about.
Absolutely, and there's still a lot of football to be played. Let's not forget the Heisman is not decided until after the conference championship games. That's when the votes are due, the Monday after the conference championship games. I mean, Tua's probably still the front runner right now, but you've got guys like Will Greer, who's having a big year. You've got Kyler Murray of Oklahoma, Ian Book of Notre Dame. He's supposed to return. Even Jake Fromm at Georgia. So you've got a bunch of really good Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State. You got a bunch of really good quarterbacks right now with a lot of big games still to be played. The Heisman has not been decided yet because, again, it wouldn't be unheard of if Georgia were to upset Alabama in the conference championship game, and if that happens, that would probably knock Tua out of it. I think whoever wins the Heisman this year is one of the quarterbacks whose team is going to be left standing and in the playoff at the end of the season.
Could it be Trevor Lawrence? I mean, could it be Shea Patterson? Names that don't get mentioned. You mentioned Ian Book. He didn't play last week, but his completion percentage is like 75%. And that team started winning when he took over. So these quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, the numbers Kyler Murray are putting up are mind-blowing. You know what talk numbers? Talk about that. So some of these things are I'm going to put it under the microscope. I'm going to look at some of these guys on my vote because I think right now Tua has the edge, but I'm not willing to write that ballot out just yet.
No way. Right now, if I were voting right this minute, all right, I might put Kyler Murray number one because Oklahoma's defense is so bad. Their defense is awful, And the fact that this guy has to be sharp and put up a bunch of points every week just for his team to win, I think that's a lot of pressure on Kyler Murray to have to go out there every series and score touchdowns because his defense is so bad. Tua doesn't have to do that. I mean, Alabama's defense is, they have the best athletes in the country at Alabama. He doesn't have to put up 50 points a game, whereas Kyler Murray does.
Yeah, Mike Bianchi from the Orlando Sentinel, and I never get it right. So is it the game? It's the game, right?
Yeah, FM 96.9.
I know you're a big radio star, but I always get it mixed up between the team and the game. I just know it's your show. It's a Mike Bianchi show. It's everywhere. That's
By the way, buddy, it's now the Bianchi Global Broadcasting Network because our show is now aired in Orlando and Jacksonville.
I heard that.
Your old stomping ground.
You know what it is you're the next Rush Limbaugh of sports talk. You know, you'll be radio. What's that? What does he call it? Excellence in broadcasting, whatever it may be.
Yeah, excellence.
Well, let me give you some kudos here for not even mentioning a guy who I'd like to see go to New York, but has no chance. He deserves at least that. And that's Bianchi Moulton, UCF. He has done a fabulous job as quarterback of the Knights, and it's a shame he has no shot. But you think he might possibly get invited to New York?
No, you know what? I had Bianchi Moulton on my ballot last year. He had a terrific year last year. He was number 2 in the country as far as quarterback rating, passing efficiency behind Baker Mayfield. And I had him at the top of my ballot last year. Right now, I don't have him on my ballot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, UCF is still unbeaten, but when you look at Bianchi Moulton's statistics this year, his completion percentage is about 58%, which obviously isn't very good. He's been banged up a lot of the year. He's just not been as sharp as he was last year. So, no, I don't think he's got a shot of making it to New York. Now, if UCF can continue to win, and I think they will, if he has a big game against Cincinnati on Saturday, it's going to be ABC primetime slot, 8 p.m., he might be able to get back in the hunt to get invited to New York, but right now I don't think so.
Final question for Mike Bianchi. Do you think we'll see a day when they'll vote on the Heisman after the championship game?
Maybe. I hope not, though. I sort of like it being a regular season.
Yeah.
I really like it being a regular season award. I'm at the championship, and plus, the championship game is like a month after the season. Do you really want to drag it out there? I don't think you do.
Yeah. All right, final one. 8 teams or not?
Oh, absolutely. There should be 8. Are you saying should there be 8 teams?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the only fair way to do it. I mean, you're having conference champions being left out now. You're having, undefeated teams like UCF in the group of 5 who have no shot of getting into this Power 5 invitational. So, yeah, they should have 8 teams. I mean, it's the only fair way to do it. See, college football is the only sport in the world where some teams don't have access to the playoffs. From Little League up to the NFL, every level, teams have access to win a championship except college football.
Power 5 Invitational. I love it. I love it. That's why he's the Felipe Franks of Orlando. Mike Bianchi. Mike, thanks for being on the show, buddy.
See ya.
Okay, Mike obviously was on tape there, but couldn't forward your questions. But coming up, we're going to talk more about the New Year's Six. Take a look at that and see how we can break it down. David Moulton's schedule to be on the program. First, though, we want to tell you about Renstar Medical Research and this project, which they're backing, which we really appreciate this. The news came out this week that these are the players who are made the final 8 of the Scott Brantley Trophy awards list, these semifinalists, and they're going to get it down to 3 or 4, and then we'll know that in a couple of weeks. And Richard Burton and I and Chad Rich will be announcing who those are going to be, and we're going to have a chance to know here who the final 3 will be. And then, of course, after the first of the year, the winner will be announced, and there's going to be a big event held in his honor in his school. So thanks to Renstar for helping support their Renstar Star of the Week. These are the stars of the week. Renstar, of course, is a superior medical research facility with a proven reputation as a high-quality research facility. They bring cutting-edge clinical research to Ocala in areas like Alzheimer's, fibromyalgia, migraines, osteoarthritis, psoriasis, and many others that affect our community. So they've been doing this a long time, since 1998, with almost 700 clinical trials, and these trials are monitored, regulated by the FDA, and safety is the utmost importance. If you want to be a part of those or know more about them, you can call Renstar in Ocala at 352-629-5800 or go online at www.renstar.net and find out why they say about Renstar Medical Research seeking tomorrow's answers to today's health questions. All right, a couple more things before we go and get our friend on the line and talk about David Moulton's views. They're very comfortable for one thing, and the Circle 15 shirt, orange, is also blue. Go in there and find out. Find some stuff for Christmas. You won't find better people or better gear, so check that out. We're going to see if we can reach our friend in Southwest Florida and check in with David Moulton of CBS and Fox, and does the Miller and Moulton show. And is a knowledgeable football fan who can maybe explain to me exactly what this deal is with the New Year's Six and the graphic I saw tonight while I was watching the program, where teams that I thought were not in the picture are in the picture. With that, I say good evening to David Moulton. Hi, David.
Hey, buddy.
Good, glad we got you tonight.
Me too. Although, if you want me to explain who's going to the Peach Bowl, I don't know.
Now that you explained it, I think it's the first time I've even looked at it. I don't believe in projecting too far out on Heisman's, but today is the day I got interested in talking about Heisman's. And I think it's important to do that. And I just got a list on the screen. I got tonight's results, from the committee. I did make kind of a snarky tweet. I said sometimes when they start talking, they sound like the View on a bad day, when they get going. But, it's interesting. No real news. You saw Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan, 1 through 4, Georgia 5, Oklahoma 6, and LSU still holding serve at 7. So we're going down to Ohio State 10, UCF at 11, and Syracuse 12, and Florida at 13. I thought that really if they got to the top 12, they would be almost guaranteed of a New Year's Six. But based on the projection that they put on the screen, and this is not official, the New Year's Six bowl game projections, they have Syracuse and West Virginia, and the Chick-fil-A. And I can realize Syracuse hasn't played Notre Dame, might lose. They have Notre Dame, obviously, and Clemson playing in one round in the Capital One Orange Bowl, and Michigan, Alabama. That's if they went out playing in the Cotton Bowl. And then you go down to the All-State Sugar Bowl. They have Oklahoma and Georgia. That could happen if Georgia doesn't make it. And then the Rose Bowl is kind of a matchup of the conferences, Ohio State and Washington State, perhaps. And then you have the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. And you have in that one LSU, a team that Florida beat. I get it, they have one less loss, and UCF. That's what they got going on. That's how they put it up tonight. Your thoughts about that?
Well, it sounds about right if that's how they're going to rank the teams. I mean, if they're going to keep LSU at 7, then, they're just going with the two highest-ranked teams that are left. LSU at 7 and UCF at 11. Mm-hmm. And they're assuming that Oklahoma's going to win out, so West Virginia's got at least 2 losses, maybe 3. Buddy, what I think is most interesting, if we take a snapshot of this year at this moment in time versus last year at this moment in time, how many teams that are Power 5 teams have 2 losses right now? 2.
Well, I got to go back and look.
2.
Yeah. 2? Okay.
The answer is only 2. Think about that.
Really?
I mean, we're 10 games into the season. We only have 2 Power 5 teams that are 8-2, LSU and Syracuse.
When you say, what do you mean in that? You mean in what ranking? Power 5? I mean, there are other...
No. Just 2 losses. That usually at this point in time, we've got a lot more quality. We've got 10 teams that have 0 or 1 loss.
Well, I see out of the 10 you're talking about. Yeah, okay, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
We have 10 teams with 0 or 1 loss, but we only have 2 teams that have 2 losses, LSU and Syracuse. Everyone else in the Power 5 has at least 3 or 4 losses.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have nearly the quality depth this year that we've had in past years. Think about what the Outback Bowl is going to look like this year. There's a very good chance you're going to have a couple of 3-loss teams.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have 4-loss teams playing on New Year's Day because they got to fill these bowls up.
Yeah, I get you on that.
And
you're talking about the... when you say that... let me get this clear. When you say we only have, meaning in the New Year's 6, we only have 2 teams with 2 losses, is that what you mean?
Yeah, with exactly 2 losses.
All right, I didn't know how far you were going to go and go down, in top 10, top 12, whatever.
But at this point last year, we had 11 teams.
Yeah, okay, I got you. I got you. All right, 11. I want to get my math right. Mm-hmm.
And this year we only have 2.
Okay.
There's basically the very top of the food chain has devoured everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's a huge separation between the haves and the have-nots this year. I mean, normally would the Florida Gators at 7-3 be ranked 13th?
No, that's pretty high.
No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's an interesting year in that respect, and I think these bowl games, the teams may be appealing, but we're going to look at their records. And we're going to go, man, I thought this was a pretty decent bowl, and we got 2 8-4 teams.
Yeah,
so I think
see what you mean.
The bowls are going to be a mess this year.
Well, you still got a lot of these teams that play each other. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan,
right.
And so on and so forth. Notre Dame's got to play Syracuse, and so Michigan, Ohio State, etc. So the teams got to play each other. So they're going to be, no doubt, there'll probably be a 3-loss team in here. More than likely be a 3-loss team.
Think about it. If Notre Dame beats Syracuse, every single team in the ACC not named Clemson has at least 3 losses.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, that's mind-boggling when you think about it.
I agree.
You have an undefeated Clemson, and everyone else in the conference has at least 3 losses if Notre Dame beats Syracuse. I mean, it's just it's a strange year.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's switch over to the Heisman. I don't normally get too involved in the Heisman until about Thanksgiving. I'm a voter. You probably are too. And we, and I start looking at seriously body of work, and then of course the team they play for, their success, how key a player they are, and I have my own designation for picking the winner or voting, and I will. By the way, I also will not be afraid to vote for a kid who's from my home state, because I think the original ballot. When it came about, the original ballot said on the original writing was with regard to your region. It no longer says that. But I still look at that, and I will give someone I'll give a third place vote to somebody that maybe is not, normally considered that to be outside the realm, and I vote my own way. But I do think in this year's deal, it seems to me that it was a lay down for Tua. And in talking to Mike Bianchi, the state chairman, earlier tonight, we talked about this, and it's not a lay down anymore. And there were people who were emerging a little. On top of that, they also got Tua being hurt, And what if he does stumble somewhere along the way? What if they do lose to Georgia, and so on? So my question to you is, if you have a ballot, are you beginning to look elsewhere for other candidates like Kyler Murray or whoever?
I think people always at this point in time, when there was a clear front runner, Lamar Jackson a couple years ago, and people were looking around going, really? Are we going to just hand this thing to him? And seemingly there was no one else to give it to. And then there was a very, very late push for, hey, what about Deshaun Watson? But Lamar ended up winning in a runaway. And I think that's what's going on now. Two has been a foregone conclusion. And now people are starting to go, wait a minute. He's been okay the last 2 weeks. He's been pretty good, but he hasn't been great. And, heck, he's not even played but 60, 70% of the snaps that the Kyler Murrays and the Helinskis, out of the world have played. So maybe we should look at somebody else who, quite frankly, is carrying their team maybe a little bit more, because now look at Alabama. Their defense has just posted back-to-back shutouts. I mean, would they be 9-10-0 with Jalen Hurts? They probably would. Maybe not as dominant, but they probably have the same record. So I do think that over the next 10 days, people are going to look for someone else to vote for. But that someone's going to have to do something extraordinary, I think, to get the first place vote.
Right, I agree. If somebody has a breakthrough and they suddenly jump up there, I don't think Haskins will, because I don't think he's going to make that leap. But who was
How about the Washington State quarterback?
Well, yeah, I'm going to give you a list right now. I'll give that you. How about talking about the Washington State quarterback and who besides Tua? And you got Trevor Lawrence and Kyler Murray and Ian Book, Mackenzie Milton. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank on his name. Shoot. I just had it written down. I forgot who it was. What's the guy's name for Washington State?
I think it's tough to go Book because he didn't start the year. Milton missed a game. I could see him getting to New York. I think it's difficult for me to envision him winning it. Saturday night, he'd have to throw for 500 yards. They'd have to score 60 points, I think, in order for him to become a legitimate threat to win the Heisman. But, I mean, my goodness, Washington State was picked, I think, fourth on their side.
Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew. That's who it is. Yeah.
Minshew was going to be the third-string quarterback at Alabama because Nick had promised him a start that after he was done holding a clipboard and see what Hurts was going to do. Maybe he'll be the backup if he leaves, but I'll make you a grad assistant next year and you get a head start on your coaching career. It was about an hour and a half away from being in Alabama when Leach called and said, I don't have a quarterback. You want to come play here?
That's about how Leach said it, too, just about like that.
Yeah. And, here they are, with only one loss and ranked in the top 10. And, I mean, in that offense, you've got to play great because you are the offense.
You knew who one of the coaches? You know who was one of the coaches on offense is there? A familiar name.
Who's that?
Steve Spurrier Jr.
Ah.
Coaching for Mike.
Very nice.
Did you happen to see the post game after the win Saturday night when Minshew put a mustache? That was classic.
Buddy, I so wanted Tennessee to hire him. I so want Mike Leach to get
in the SEC.
Well, just a really big job, where he's got a chance to, I think, win a national championship. He's doing great, obviously, Washington State. He did terrific work at Texas Tech, but it's tough to envision you making the playoff at those two places. I would love for someone at a place in which you think you've got a shot to make the playoff. I would love for someone to have the guts to hire Mike Leach. I'll say this. Things don't turn around in Miami by the end of 2019. I'd call Mike Leach.
How about Auburn? The buyout's so big, $32 million, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of places he could coach in the SEC. Can you imagine him at SEC Media Days?
Oh, it'd be amazing. It'd be awesome. It'd be so great.
Such a good
He'd
dude,
make fun
man.
of everybody.
That's a good.
It'd be awesome.
And doesn't take himself too serious. Today's press conference, I watched it, and it's all about who could punch who out among the coaches in the Pac-12. Who could take who, you know? And he participated. Can you imagine Nick Saban addressing a question like that? You know, he's just so laid back, and he's an offensive genius. He looks like an absent-minded professor. Let's talk about the next coach at Louisville. Bovada is out with odds, Jeff Brom being the favorite. He may stay at Purdue. After that, which one of these do you like? Neil Brown, Ryan Day, Brent Venables, or Luke Feckle, or Matt Campbell?
Let me ask, do you think Louisville's a good job?
Not now.
You're on the same side as Clemson and Florida State. I know Florida State's grease fire this year, and last year wasn't so hot either. But I don't know if you can consistently do much better than third place, and that's if you have your act together.
Yeah, they've probably seen their heyday.
So, yeah, I mean, for goodness sakes, they're a Heisman Trophy winner.
And I got a bad basketball situation, which I mean, still part of it, but I can see that happening. I mean, I can see him. I mean, he would be a good choice. I'll tell you something else. Dana Holgerson's got to get a look somewhere too, in my opinion. So that's the first face through the door through the revolving door of a coaching carousel. That's what it's going to be, and we'll see.
I got a gut feeling Brom stays at Purdue.
I do too. I
had no information, just a gut feeling that the timing's just wrong. The timing and the circumstances are just wrong. Either that or it'll take 13 minutes to do the negotiations. It'll be Scott Frost in Nebraska. The answer is yes, because it's home. I mean, I don't see how this is a whole lot of thought. Either this is his dream job and he's always wanted it, and the answer is yes. Or, to me, the answer is no. I don't think there's any gray area.
Yeah. So the coaching carousel starts. Who's the next one to fall?
Well, Mike McIntyre fired today at Colorado.
Right. I knew that was coming.
I don't know. I mean, Lynn Swan gave Clay Helton an extension before the start of the season.
I think he's out.
So he's getting paid through 2022.
Yeah.
It's a lot of coin, but I'm with you. I think Clay Helton's going to be out at USC.
Who you like to take his place?
Oh, boy.
Want me to give you my two?
USC?
I'll give you my two.
Sure.
Dino Babers is one. And the other one is Matt Campbell from Iowa State. I know they won't hire him there, but he's a good coach. And Babers might be a good fit for them.
I think Matt Campbell is going to wait and see what's going on with Urban, because I think Matt Campbell's the leader in the clubhouse for the Ohio State job.
What a mess that story is. What a mess. Brett McMurphy story. I don't even want to get into that drama tonight, but it's just an absolute cesspool, and it's not looking good for Brett McMurphy, who's allegedly a good reporter, with all the things that are coming out now. And I don't like to diss on people who are honest journalists, but boy, there's all kind of evidence that's contrary to what he said in his story, including every one of the Ohio State receivers who said the altercation he said that he had with Trayvon Grimes never happened. All 8 of them. So I don't know. In a court of law, could you win a suit like that?
Well, it's hard, but to me, it's a pretty simple story. Does the kid involve back McMurphy or not? I mean, if he says that the disgraced coach threw a racial slur in his face, then McMurphy's golden.
Yeah, but the problem is all 8 receivers there, all of them swear that was never took place and they were there at the practice. So that's not good. And I don't know the answer.
Buddy,
I know,
buddy,
I get it. I know. Listen.
No. I mean, buddy, if you claim it happened to you, does it really matter what me and 7 other guys say?
In a court of law, it does. If it was a lawsuit, that's all I'm saying. And look, I've done a million stories, so I've had people try to shoot me down on what I knew to be the facts, and so I understand that part of it. That's all part of the game. I'm not turning on him. I'm just saying it's ugly all the way around right now up there. It's not pretty for anybody right now. And unfortunately, Trayvon Grimes is getting a little bit of a splashed on him. I don't know the complete story. I know there's a lot of facts that are coming out, not the least of which Zach Smith. Are you kidding me? The things he's posting about Tom Herman, true or not? Have you seen those?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, it makes Urban look
bad again because it certainly does.
The first thing people go is, wow,
right.
He went to the wall to protect a slime ball like this?
Yep, that's true. So there's a lot still coming out. It's not a pretty sight. All right, so I guess we'll wait and see on the coaches. You're voting tomorrow.
Well, let me throw this out.
Yeah.
Let me throw this out. I wonder, and I know they don't take athletics all that seriously, but I wonder if time's running out for Derek Mason.
Well, that's a good question. And the answer is probably, but when is it running out? And then again, how much better job could you get? I mean, I don't know if there's a miracle worker out there or not. Their facilities are so horrible that, you got your hands tied there. How are you going to recruit to a school like that unless they want to go to Harvard? You know what I mean? And I get it. But it's a great question. It's a great question. I had a question asked to me today on this interview I did with your old network, SEC Today show with Chris Childers and Aaron Murray. And they asked me at the end and said, do you think that Franks will be the quarterback next year? And your first reaction is to say no. And who do you think it will be? Well, I think it will be the guy who they're grooming, obviously, to become the player. That would be Jones. And then after that, Jalen Jones. And Emory and Jalen. But on the other hand, if you look at what has happened for the last 2 years, I'd liken it to you trying to drive a stake in the heart of Dracula. This kid is so resilient. He's got 9 or 10 lives. He's still hanging on. What happened Saturday, and I haven't had you weigh in on that, I've said, and today Chris Childers agreed, I kind of liked it. I kind of like him shushing the crowd. And now I'm told by people who were boots on the ground, beat reporters, that he wasn't shushing the crowd. He was shushing Luke Del Rio.
Interesting. You say resilient. I say hasn't been anybody really there to take his place. But listen, he played hard. He played well. He played inspired Saturday as a runner. I mean, he's an average passer. But listen, he got the job done. And the Gators have had 2 17-plus point comebacks this year. And that shows an awful lot. And we have to keep this in mind, buddy. They're not even remotely close to being the finished product that they're going to be by sometime in 2020. So for them to have given the fan base what they have given them so far this year, I think it's tremendous, and they got a chance to still throw a 10-win season on the board. I think Franks isn't the answer, but he's all they've got right now. So Dan's doing the best that he can with him. I'm sitting here just still thinking about coaches. I think Larry Fedora's done at North Carolina.
What do you think about that? Let me just say one thing, add to what you said. We all know you can't run with a quarterback who is an average passer and a good runner. Oh, wait a minute. There was a guy named Tim Tebow.
Well, he was a much better
I had to get that in. Well, I had to get that in there. I just had to get it in there.
He completed over 70% of his passes, and he was also an elite runner, which Franks is not. But I know what you're saying. And in Dan's offenses also.
Right.
Dan won a lot of games with Nick Fitzgerald, who we're seeing when he has to throw the ball is kind of limited.
Yeah.
So you could see where Dan could be very effective with Felipe Franks. I just don't think he is beat Georgia win the East type of quarterback.
Right. Well, yes, and give me your coaches you want to think about.
Well, Bill Snyder, I think it's...
You think he's hanging up at 78?
Well, I don't think he's going to do it voluntarily. I think they're going to have to pull the trigger, but they're likely going to lose their last 2 games and finish 4-8. And I think 79. I think they're going to move on. I really do. And I don't know how the guy at Rutgers survives. Not that anybody cares, but they're probably going to go 1-11, get outscored by about 300 points. I don't know how you survive that. He may, because they're such a dumpster fire, but I don't know how you survive that. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, David, I know one thing. We survived another show together. Thank you for your time, my friend. I appreciate it as usual.
I didn't realize this was that dangerous.
Yeah, well, you never know about this group. Did you? Where are you going Saturday with the crew?
Oh, man, the SEC has got to do something.
Martha Stewart University, Cupcake Saturday.
Oh, man, I mean, when the headline game, the best game in the best conference is Missouri at Tennessee.
There you go.
Woo.
Did you take a look at the teams they're playing? Do you recall all these teams that they're playing? Unbelievable. Look at this, and this is the lineup for Martha Stewart University weekends, I call it, Cupcake Saturday. Matter of fact, Chowder said he was stealing that from me. They play Citadel, Idaho, Middle Tennessee, Liberty, Chattanooga, UMass, and Rice. Those are the teams they play. and my answer to that was, and I said David Moulton is going to hate it because he doesn't believe in this. He likes the 4. Go to 8 teams, then you'll see. This baloney about every game matters is not true as long as they have schedules like this. If they're going to do this, they might as well go to 8 and get rid of that charge that that every game shouldn't matter. These games don't matter. I'm sorry. They matter only to stats and W's.
Listen, if you're going to schedule like this, then you can't complain when fans don't show up.
That's true.
You can't. I'm sorry. If you're going to only play 8 conference games, so then over half of a home schedule you have control of. You get to schedule, and you're giving your fan base this garbage of a product, and you're expecting them to buy it and swallow it whole. Don't give them a hard time when there's blowback, because I'm sorry, this is embarrassing. They should not. This is like preseason NFL football, and nobody should be charging any money for that. This should be bring your kids to the stadium for free day, is what it should be for all of these embarrassing games. It really is. It's embarrassing.
You got your dander up, David. It's too late to get out upset and angry. Take your pills and go to bed. You can get up tomorrow.
I'm not that old.
Well, I am. Yeah, I think you're right, and I think it has to be penal. Either the networks are going to bring it down on them, or they're going to have to. They're going to have to get the playoff committee's got to start penalizing them for playing these games. And they're undercard games, and they're going to have a system that disallows it. And if you fill out the schedule with decent games, you won't have to have 8 necessarily, or play a 9th conference game and do that. I think playing a 9th conference game would be good. It's a little more unfair to the SEC teams than it is in the Pac-12.
But think about if you're Greg Sankey. And look at how the committee has ranked your teams again this week. You play 8 conference games when the majority of the Power 5 conferences play 9. Your non-conference schedule is largely embarrassing. And look at how the committee views you.
Yeah, but they don't knock each other off, David. They don't give each other a third loss. That's the difference. Stop playing a 9th game.
Yeah, because they won't play a 9th game, and they won't play conference games that are worth a darn. But they're being rewarded for it. I mean, they've yet to be punished in any way, shape, or form for only 8 conference games and for largely embarrassing non-conference schedule. Now, Florida doesn't count. This week's a joke, but they have to play Florida State every year, and Florida plays people. Florida plays South Carolina, Georgia. They've got tough non-conference games that are built into their schedule. It's not the whole conference, but as a whole, the SEC's non-conference scheduling is largely embarrassing, and you throw only playing 8 conference games on top of it. You can make the case the road is a lot easier than people are acknowledging. And look at how much love the conference gets from the committee. Why in the world, if you're Greg Sankey, would you change anything?
Well, there you go. Good thing to put your head on the pillow and think about. And by the way, when you come back, give me a solution next week to this New Year's Six deal, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, David. Good night. Sleep tight.
Buddy.
Hey, thanks for being
All right.
on. Appreciate it.
Don't let the blue books fight.
Okay, buddy. All right, David Moulton. I always enjoy my buddy David Moulton having him on the program with me, as we did tonight. And we weren't able to play the interview with Chris Childers, is supposed to be listening tonight, too. We'll do it tomorrow night. We'll move around our schedule, play a little bit of that interview. You might find it kind of interesting what I had to say to those guys. And then also we'll have tomorrow night, let's see, it's Quarterback Club nights, and we'll have old Terry Norvell, T-Mac, on for a bit tomorrow. We'll have Chris Storing on, I think Tate Casey. If we can get it scheduled live tomorrow night, we'll do that. So it's a busy day tomorrow. I'm going to have to go down and interview Trey Mann, the young man from the Villages, who's going to be Florida's next point guard, and we're going to get a chance to visit with him. Chad, Rich, and myself and friends are going down there. So it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow and a busy, busy week. I want to say, though, Ocala Quarterback Club, thanks to these fellows here, Frank Canna and Danny Williams, who help support. They're two of our champions who support the Quarterback Club, allow us to do some very interesting things, some things that I'm extremely proud of. I mentioned the finalists that you have on this is some of the pictures of Scott and the Scott Bradley Trophy. We're getting close to that. Happy to announce that Richard Burton will be joining us and doing a lot of our media with us, which is going to be great. Richard just has a new book out, Seeds of Greatness, about the high school playoffs, and we're very thrilled to get have this thing launched. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful event and something that I'll be proud to be a part of, and you will be too. So with that, I think I've got all the business taken care of for the night. I'll say thank you for tuning in tonight. And we'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same station. And good night, and thank you, GNK.